biggest threat, I think, for these, since it's really behind the cold front, will be flash flooding from all these downpours. Already we've had some flooding going on across the area. But the biggest threat for any tornadoes would be more of these individual cells that we can see in Cameron Parish here. Further towards the south, we still have some of those showers and storms coming off the Gulf of Mexico. And again, because they're more separate, unlike what the activity from the north is, that provides better ingredients for these storms to potentially become tornadic. So we're going to continue to track these over the next really hour, 2 hours, even beyond that into our afternoon in case anything else does pop up.
Yeah.
But for now, we're going to turn our attention back towards our tornado-warned storm now approaching Bell City. Jeff?
Okay, you can really get a general idea here. Right here, I would say, is where the hook is. So I'm going to put a cone to this once again and give you an idea on the communities. Can't repeat this enough. All right, I want to make sure that we have, it's at the proper speed, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Rosignol, Bell City around 749, Verret towards 754. You live in those areas, those communities. There's Rosignol Road. That's also in proximity. Okay. Looking for some other reference points here. Maybe we can zoom out and see some of the highways. There's Highway 14. The tornado watch itself is in place through 1 o'clock. It includes Jeff Davis Parish, so this wasn't a total surprise. The potential certainly there on a first alert weather day we have in place. It has been for the last 24 hours or so. All right, I'm going to see if we have any other information from the National Weather Service.
Mm-hmm. And while you do that, I'm going to zoom in to see exactly what neighborhoods this is going over now.
Yeah, take a look at that. I'm going to read through our information again from the National Weather Service. Once again, the tornado warning for northeastern Cameron Parish has been canceled. The tornadic thunderstorm, which prompted the warning, has moved out of the northeastern Cameron Parish area, but it remains in effect for, it's also portions of, I believe it's north. I want to double check on this, make sure. It did include just a small portion of southeastern Calcasieu Parish and Jeff Davis Parish. Yeah, central Jefferson Davis Parish and southeastern Calcasieu Parish until 8:15 this morning. At 7:35, this is about 5 minutes ago, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 9 miles east-southeast of the Lake Charles Regional Airport, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. Okay, this is somewhat newer data. All right, radar indicated rotation. All right, flying debris, that one of the dangers if you're caught without shelter, well, that's key in this situation, your safe spot. Mobile homes damaged or destroyed, damage to roofs, windows, vehicles, all potentially to occur. Tree damage is likely. All right, this dangerous storm is going to be near Hayes around 7:45, Iowa 7:50, and should it hold together, Welsh around 8:05. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm include Lacassin and Bell City.
And Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then in addition to that, this is again in a very similar spot to our previous tornado warning from this morning. It's just south of the Homewood vicinity right now. So let's just take a look at some of the neighborhoods where this tornado would be. Right now, if you're along Fruge Road, you guys need to be taking shelter immediately. This is moving off to the northeast, so we'll take a look at some of the other roads it'll move towards. It looks like as it approaches off to the northeast, will be that Duhan Road. Again, if you guys know anybody that lives there, you need to tell them to take shelter, or if you do live there yourself, you need to take shelter immediately. Then also it'll be moving off to the northeast as well and approach the Rossignol community. Again, that's where it looks like it'll be heading towards the northeast. Again, just because we have this tornado warning, this possible tornado storm coming towards the area. Again, just if you live there, be sure to get into an interior room, away from walls, away from windows. If you have a bicycle helmet or a mattress even, anything to protect your head, that would be a great way to keep yourself and your loved ones safe. Then, of course, they'll move off to the northeast. Bell City, it may miss you just off to the west, but don't let your guard down. This is still a dangerous storm moving towards the area. You guys do need to take shelter as well. Jeff?
Okay, Max, I want to see if we can get the velocity on here. Basically, we're looking for the core, the rotation in this system. Can you pull that up? And let's take a wider shot and see if we get Welsh, Iowa, the general idea. This is probably what we're looking at right here. Does this make sense to you here?
Yeah, again,
you have a closer view than I do.
Yeah, again, it's pretty noisy. It's very close to the radar. Let's take a look at where it would, that area in blue, if it matches up where the hook that we see. And it looks like it's actually just a little bit further off to the east.
Right.
Now, I will say the hook is fairly well defined, but the good news is right now there's just not, as of this moment, things could very well change. It's why you need to take shelter. But right now it looks like the evidence for a tornado on the ground, it's still a little bit lacking. But again, it could produce a tornado at any moment. If you're in the warning, you need to take shelter immediately.
Yeah, that's one of the issues with this being so close to the radar site at the Lake Charles Regional Airport that obscures some of the signature, the definition that we would like to see. That's why Max and I are having this discussion as to where the likely rotation is, and it's probably in this particular area here. And moving once again northeast about 40 miles an hour. All right, I'm going to go through the data again. I'm hoping the National Weather Service gets us some fresh data. They haven't. All right, this is as of 7:36, so it's almost about 10 minutes old, but it's still somewhat. It's obviously relevant. Okay. Here's the situation, The tornado warning itself for northeastern Cameron Parish, which was initially included, has been canceled. The tornadic thunderstorm, which prompted the warning, moved out of the warned area. That is why it was canceled. The watch remains in effect until 1 o'clock for southwestern Louisiana, for portions of southwestern Louisiana. All right. The warning is until 8:15. It remains for central Jefferson Davis Parish and southeastern Calcasieu parishes. At 7:35 a.m., a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located 9 miles southeast of the Lake Charles Regional Airport. So in other words, it's just 9 miles away from the radar site, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. Radar indicated rotation, so no confirmation beyond that as far as actual ground contact, things of that nature. All right, Hayes in line, the community of Hayes, you live there, some people in that area, in that general vicinity. Around 7:45, that's potential passing of that dangerous storm near that area, as I said, Hayes. That's actually right about now. Iowa around 7:50, and should it hold together, Welsh around 8:05. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm include Lacassin and Bell City. Take cover now. Basement preferably. Interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If you're outdoors, perhaps in a mobile home or a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris.
It's Jeff. It does continue to move off to the northeast. We can see here on our radar, it is beginning to impact the Rossignol community. We'll take a look again at some of those streets that are around it. It's really now moving over Lavin Road. Again, if you're around there, you need to take shelter immediately. It'll be moving over you shortly, if not already. Now, further off to the northeast, this will be approaching State Route 14, and eventually after that, Sidney DeRowan Road as well. So, again, if you know anyone in these communities, these streets, or if you live there yourselves, again, now this is the time to be taking cover. Again, move to an interior room. Again, you want a lot of walls away from the edge of your house, away from windows. That's the best way to protect yourself. Jeff, again, let's take a bit of a wider view out,
Yeah.
again, we're going to see just exactly what else is going on across the area.
You nailed it, Max. The hook echo that you pointed out, that's using weather terminology, but still, where we pointed out where the rotation was, that was just confirmed by the National Weather Service. It's roughly 4 miles west of Bell City. All right. This is mid-level as well, which makes it really has a lot to do with the angle of the radar, which is at the Lake Charles Regional Airport, which makes it a little more difficult to identify where the rotation is. But when I say they, the National Weather Service has confirmed it's 4 miles roughly west of Bell City, moving northeast towards western Jefferson Davis Parish. So if you're in the Jefferson Davis Parish area, west, now it's moving northeast, but western, we'll focus on that for the time being. So western Jeff Davis Parish, area of concern, of course.
Yeah, and Jeff, let's get another look again at the velocity first. I want to see if we can still see a couplet. Right now, it would likely be located again near Sydney DeGruin Road. I just don't see anything. It's very close to the radar, very noisy, and that's a good sign. It's some good news that we don't see anything that we can immediately really determine is on the ground, really strong couplet. Now let's also look if we can see any debris, and well, again, the good news is there's just a lot of noise with this. Usually these blue colors would indicate debris, but given how close, again, it is to the radar, I think that's just mainly noise. We don't really have anything definitive to say that this is on the ground. But again, though, this has definitely the potential to produce a tornado if it hasn't already anywhere in the warning. If any guys of you that live in this warning, you need to be taking shelter immediately. Get to your safe space in your house. If you live in a mobile home, again, if you have a neighbor in your immediate area that has a sturdier place that would hold up, again, just go knock on the door real quick. I'm sure they wouldn't mind just to have you stay for a few minutes. But for the rest of you, again, just stay in a safe place in the interior portion of your home, away from windows, and preferably a lot of walls around. So like a closet or a bathroom, if a basement you have, that would be the best option out of all of them. And again, a helmet or anything to protect your head, also a very good option for tornadoes as well. Jeff?
Yeah, mattress, if you have that too, that works well. The tornado warning obviously is a priority, but we've also had an awful lot of rainfall. We have training storms. When we say training, sometimes I refer to it as camping. It basically sits in one spot. It's along the leading edge of the system. In other words, that the system that we're pointing out, without getting too deep into weather terminology, it's somewhat stalled. We're looking at the flash flooding potential. If you're out on the roadways, not necessarily where the tornado warned area is, that's something that you have to be cautious of as well. That standing water and just the nonstop rainfall over one spot.
Yeah, and Jeff, let's go and take a look. Let's go take a wider view and see where exactly that heavier rainfall is, where the greatest threat of flash flooding would be. And that would be further off to the north. Again, portions of northern Calcasieu. Check out all that activity in Beauregard and Allen parishes. Just a lot of downpours around. We do have a flash flood warning in effect for southern portions of Allen Parish, as well as eastern and northern portions of Jeff Davis as well. So even though the severe threat in those areas may be diminishing, the flash flood threat is definitely still on. So that's just where, again, more of that threat for flash flooding right now is at this time.
Yeah, we're certainly not past. I mean, obviously, with the tornado warning in place through 8:15, past the strong storms, seeing renewed thunderstorm activity towards parts of Beauregard and Vernon Parish, a pretty good pocket of some thunderstorms. Strong but not severe, and there is a difference. Wind speed has a lot to do with it, but near DeRitter, in fact, I don't want to take us too far off the mark here, but I do want to show some of the other spots here, towards DeQuincy and north towards Singer. But once again, here's where the tornado warned area is, and it just happens to be, you see I-10 right along the middle of this polygon. It's the red lines that you're seeing here. Iowa, Welsh, Bell City are the marking points. the reference points as to help us, kind of identify where the rotation is. Okay, I-10 right here. I don't want to muck it up with too much drawing, but you can see I-10 right here. Here's Welsh, Iowa, and Bell City. I'm going to clear this off so we can look at this a little bit closer. But this is the cell we're talking about right here. All right, with the that's the tornado warned cell that we're talking about here, supercell really. Okay, I'm gonna step back here a bit and see if I can draw.
Yeah, we can do another cone to see where exactly it's
give it a
going, the
shot here. I'll let
communities
you-
that it's going. So let me pause this
Yeah.
for a second.
Yep.
I'm just going to take a bit of a zoom out here. And so again, still moving off to the northeast at around 40 miles an hour. It is starting to approach the Welsh community as we speak, but first though, within really a few minutes, it'll be near the Foreman's Hall vicinity. So again, anyone that lives there, if you know anyone that lives there, you need to be taking cover immediately, get to your safe space. As we head further off to the northeast, eventually, yes, this will be approaching Welsh as well, around 8:08, around that time frame. So again, that's something to keep an eye on for folks down the road. This is coming your way. This could be pretty close to the Welsh community. Again, folks there, you need to be paying attention to this.
Yeah, what we've seen the pattern of the storms through the course of the night has been that northeast movement and maintaining the strength through our area and onto eastern areas. So it's normally we run into these quick spin ups, and these have been a little more of a longer duration. Thus, why the tornado warning was initially issued at I want to back up here and see. I believe it was it 7:36. Does that make sense? No, it was before that actually.
It was around 7:27.
So, okay, thank
And
you.
Jeff, I'll share some good
Sure.
news. Right now, here on our radar, we can see actually as it approaches Foreman's Hall, the hook that we had from before, that's actually becoming a little less well-defined.
Yeah.
That is good news for anyone in the path. So maybe it's becoming a bit weaker. Still though, again, could produce a tornado at any time. We've already had a tornado warning earlier in this morning as well as overnight. So definitely you still want to pay attention to this, but again, the good news is right now, not a whole lot of evidence that maybe tornado is on the ground. Again though, could definitely produce one in the near future. So if you're in this path near Foreman's Hall, eventually up to the Lacassine and Welsh communities, again, now's a good time to seek your safe place. But the good news is for anyone's past that, including Bell City, Chalkley, those communities, you guys are out of the clear. So you guys can go out of your safe space into the rest of your homes. It's mainly off to the northeast. Again, the cell is approaching the Vera community, the Lacassine, Welsh community. You guys are in the path of it too. You guys are who really needs right now to be paying attention and getting into that safe place.
Okay, I'm glad you took it out of motion for several reasons. One, if you want to zoom in on that cell, Max, meteorologist Jeff Andrews, along with meteorologist Max Logano in the Weather Center right now. As Max pointed out, what we're looking for somewhat of a hook, and it literally looks like a hook, almost forms somewhat of like a C in a way, and we're not seeing that. Which, that is a good sign that it's losing some definition and, in essence, losing intensity. Hoping for more data from the National Weather Service for an update. Okay, well, regardless, let's see if we can get a better idea on the tornadic signature via velocity. I apologize if we use some weather terminology. It's just a way for us to kind of communicate with each other here. So we're working off the same computer, and we want to make sure that we're not opposing each other. Being the fact that it's so close to the radar site, 9 miles. Initially, it was 9 miles east-southeast from the Lake Charles Regional Airport, where the radar is, and that makes it a little more difficult to spot. Okay, but we do have the polygon here, that the lines that you see in the red that indicate the area, and you can see how they just moved it. The line moved further north and east. Okay, near Lacassine, also Welsh is still within that polygon. Iowa is not. Okay, maybe we could step back here a little bit. What other communities? Can you get the polygon a little more in the center here? See what communities may be to the north?
Yes, and I'll zoom in
some of
first.
the-
Foreman's.
Okay, you mentioned Foreman's Hall. That's actually roughly where, at the southern end of it, southeastern end. or
That would be where
western,
the
rather, I'm
tornado
sorry.
would be.
Right, exactly. And
So yeah, I'm going to take a wider zoom in here to see what other communities and towns are in the way. So we'll just take a brief zoom out of here, and we can see eventually as it moves off to the north and northeast, we can see it will be moving. Jennings, you guys I think are in the clear, should be well off to the west of you
Right.
guys, but from anywhere from, it looks like as it moves off to the northeast, the Hathaway, you guys over there, if you live there, you should be paying close attention to that. If it persists, it could be heading your way. So that would be the next stop on its destination here.
Yeah.
But we'll keep you updated. We'll keep an eye on its strength. We'll see how it's evolving. Jeff?
yeah, that's, why I know some folks that have been with us through the duration, yes, the information gets redundant, but you really can't go over this data enough. Just we don't want to miss anybody, and it certainly bears repeating because it's encompassing one particular area here, and I want to make sure everybody hears and knows the community that we're, if it does impact the area where they live. Okay, Lacasse, and this is moving northeast at about 40 miles an hour. So Foreman's Hall is the southern southwestern end of this strong tornadic cell that we're watching. You can see how it flashes there. And some other communities that are likely impacted. Okay, they haven't updated the times yet here. We're getting towards the 8 o'clock hour. We're at 8 o'clock actually right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to do another track on this just to get an idea of the timing, who can expect this to approach their communities as well. So I'm going to pause the radar for just a minute or two. Let me create another track here, and we can see as it heads off to the northeast, again, around the Welsh community, probably within the next 10 minutes or so, it will be close to your area. So, again, it's something that if you're around from there, you know people that are there, or you live there yourselves, again, now's the time to be getting into that safe space at your home. While I'm at it, I'm also going to take another zoom in to see if we can see any, where any debris would be.
Yeah. Well, you
Again,
work
right-
on that, Max. I got an update here too. So you do that. I want to share this. This is good news. The tornado warning for eastern Calcasieu Parish has been canceled. All right. So Cameron was initially included in this. That's dropped off. Calcasieu Parish as well. The tornado warning, tornadic thunderstorm that prompted this warning has moved out of the warned area, referencing eastern Calcasieu Parish, but it remains in effect till 8:15 for central Jeff Davis Parish. This just came down at 7:57, so it's a pretty fresh data for us. It's only about 4 minutes old. Okay, at 7:57, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Welsh. Okay, so we could zoom in on Welsh, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. So we're tracking this. It is continuing on to the northeast, and as far as its intensity, as best we can tell, well, they're continuing the warning, so obviously there's still some degree of intensity. Okay, there's Welsh. It looks just, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Just northeast. Okay, northeast at 40 miles an hour, and it's located near Welsh. The National Weather Service doesn't specify exactly where, but we can tell it is. It's to the west of Welsh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yes, as it continues moving off to the northeast, for you guys in the Welsh community, you may actually be able to get off lucky here. May just stay off to the west by a close shave, but still far too close for comfort. Again, you guys, I would highly recommend you need to be getting into those safe spaces into your house. I'm going to take just another zoom out, parish-wide zoom here just to see where else it is headed to. Right now, it's going to be crossing I-10 very shortly, probably within the next 10 minutes or so. So again, if you're traveling along I-10, you need to take very extra caution if you're along there. Then eventually, though, this tornado warning storm is going to be crossing it. Eventually, it will be heading into further northeastern portions of Jeff Davis Parish. So I'll take a closer zoom in, see if we can see any towns that might be in the way of it. Hathaway community, you guys, Hathaway, Pine Island, you guys would likely be among the stops it would be closest to as it takes that northeasterly trek. So you guys, I think, also need to be paying attention very closely to the progress of the storm and get ready to get into that safe place as well, as long as it continues maintaining its current strength. Jeff?
Yeah, also as we look towards, I think Edna may be a little further off to the west of the cell, so it may be a non-issue for that community, but and Fenton as well. It's one of our more populated communities, but that's outside the polygon right now, and I expect it to stay that way. You can see it's just to the north of the warned area. Okay, I-10, especially this time of day, Max, a lot of traffic during the 8 o'clock hour along I-10, which certainly concerns me.
Yeah, so that's going to be crossing I-10 very, very, very shortly. Motorists along I-10, again, just exercise a lot of extra caution. Again, this storm system, even right now, if it's not producing a tornado, again, it has the potential that it could drop one at any point. So this is still something that everyone along the path of it needs to monitor. We'll take another look at the velocity just to see if we can see any defined couplet, we call it. That's just when winds kind of just converge along each other, different colors. Green colors, that means your winds are going towards the radar, and red colors, that means they're going away. The convergence of the two, that's where you would have a tornado, but the good news, again, I will repeat, is that right now, it just doesn't look like there's any real defined couplet, at least from the Lake Charles radar site. I'll take another look at the actual radar here. Any couplet would be right along between Lacassine and Welsh, where we have Lacassine and Welsh. That's where, in those orange shades, those red shades along I-90, that is, that would be exactly where a couplet would be. I'll just draw a little circle right here to give you guys a better idea. That is where we would be expecting a couplet or just a tornado to form if we have one. Now, again, the good news is if I turn on velocity, right now the noise it's just really noisy. There's not a whole lot of a signal for anything, at least at ground level. Definitely some, I think, rotation in the mid-levels or just a few thousand feet above that, but
that's
for now, though, again, that's the good news, though. Right now, it does not appear there's a tornado on the ground. Again, I can't stress this enough. That could change at any minute. Again, if you're from the Lacassian to the Welsh communities, you guys need to be getting into your safe places as we speak.
Yeah, this just came down from the National Weather Service as well. I'm going to keep us on point here. And I do see they're shifting the polygon, the warned area, but the severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 3 miles northwest of Welsh, moving northeast at 35 miles an hour. Okay, this is fresh as of 8:06. Okay, and we did talk about the potential location, the rotation, the circulation. It is about 3,500 feet and above, so this is elevated. All right, we don't want to assume that it hasn't made contact with the ground, but like you referenced, Max, indicators are it hasn't. All right, 3,500 feet and above is where the circulation's been identified. Crossing I-10 just east of Lacassine. In fact, I sure hope, I mean, you know there are going to be people on the interstate that aren't monitoring their, they don't have a way to get their bulletins, and they're probably seeing some interesting activity in the skies above them. And, okay, a tornado warning, let's see, I don't want to take you up point. Can we see where this is here? A tornado warning until 8:30 that may be east of our viewing area.
Well, right now it's still in our viewing area as it's approaching. It's actually just going to end up, I think, a little bit to the west of the Welsh community.
Okay.
So thankfully, that's the good news. I think it may just end up to the west there. Again, though, it's still too close to call. if you're in Welsh, I think you, at least for the next few minutes, need to stay in your safe places. If we take a zoom out here, we see where it's going. Again, Pine Island to Hathaway, you guys would be next on the list here. I'll just go zoom out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good idea, because obviously we can show what's going on downstream, so to speak, where, well, actually it'll be upstream. Either way you want to look at it, where this storm is headed, with a movement at northeast at 35 miles an hour this way. If you're in a community upstream, so to speak, this way you get a little heads up, maybe out of our viewing area, but maybe somebody was planning on driving there, you have friends there. So, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on that. For right now, I'm just going to do another track on it to give you guys an idea of what exactly the timing that we can expect. We can expect this storm to arrive pretty close to the Hathaway community, so I'm just going to do a quick
get that
code.
zoomed in, and I'm going to interrupt you just to read some more fresh data. All right, this dangerous storm, tornadic, it's radar indicated, will be near Pine Island around 8:20. So, yep, in fact, it's right. We have it highlighted right now. Pine Island towards 8:20. Elton around 8:30 this morning. That's why the tornado warning has been continued, at least directions to the north and the east, because that's the direction that the storm itself is moving. That makes total sense. But once again, if you're in the Pine Island, Elton area, points in between, and the adjacent area, I see China, locations like that, take cover now.
Yes, that's a good point, Jeff. Again, if you're in the path of the storm, which would, again, be from Pine Island, China, even Hathaway, perhaps, now is the time to get into that safe space. Again, that'd be in an interior room, away from any windows. And again, I would think the best places for that, a closet, a bathroom. If you have a basement, that's even better. That's probably your best option. And again, anything to protect your heads, like a mattress, a bicycle helmet, those would definitely help in the event we do get a tornado that touches down, or we can confirm it's touched down and is headed your way. So I'm just going to take another zoom out here real quick. Again, we still have a lot of activity across our area, so we'll just take another look at what exactly is going on. And really, it's just a lot of, especially north of I-10, we can see here, it's just a lot of rainfall. At some of that's very heavy too. Again, this is the concern we have for flash flooding. We've already had some around the area. And again, so this is, again, if you're on the roadways, especially in portions of Beauregard, Allen, Northern Calcasieu parishes, if you're on the roadways, notice that the road is flooded, and it's just not a good idea. You can't accurately judge that depth of the water. So if you see that, turn around, don't drown. Meanwhile, we still do have some showers and storms coming off from the Gulf of Mexico. We can see some in Cameron right now. I'm just going to do a quick velocity scan of some of these storms entering southern portions of Calcasieu, just to see if we have any rotation with that. Right now, it's pretty...
As far as safe spots, and that's a additional challenge for us in Louisiana. Most folks don't have basements. A lot don't. All right, but certainly if you did, but that's kind of an issue too. But we had to make that suggestion though. All right, can you see where Hathaway? Let's now circulation is now over central Jefferson Davis Parish. There's Hathaway. All right. It's kind of hard to get the arrow there, but you can see it's right. I'll circle it, Max, just so we got a good reference point. This is where the circulation is at this point.
Well, it's actually a bit further off to the southeast.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Closer to,
yeah, it was just a reference point that the National Weather Service said. I mean, being that it's moving at 35 miles an hour, yeah, it's not a stationary thing, so yeah, good point. But it's continuing to the northeast at around 35 miles an hour. That it was just referenced as near Hathaway. Okay.
But yes, it is rapidly approaching it again, moving at 40 miles an hour, so it's moving very fast. I'm just going to zoom out a bit, again, do another cone just to get a better idea of the timing of when this could be approaching the Hathaway community. We'll take a look at that. I'll just give a second to pause this so I can get a better drawing of the cone, and we'll take a look here. Probably, it's probably going to be around Pine Island, around 8:20. That's about 7 minutes from now. That's the time you need to get in your safe place as this storm approaches that area. And I would say for the Hathaway community, probably just a couple minutes after that. China, a little more time, around 8:28. But again, now's the time to prepare to get into that safe space as well. Further down the line, Elton, you guys need to be paying attention to this. You got the arrival time for that would be around 8:35 if it makes it to your area. We'll keep tracking it as it gets closer to all of these locations. Jeff?
All right, the warning once again, the latest was including Jeff Davis Parish until 8:30. All right, as it continues movement northeast at 35 miles an hour. Okay, as of 8:06, okay, that's 8 minutes past, so obviously it's moving along here at a pretty good clip, 35 miles an hour. But at that point, it was just northwest of Welsh, moving once again, as I said, at 35 miles to the northeast, 3 miles northwest of Welsh, so very close to Welsh. All right. As of 8:09, the circulation over central Jeff Davis Parish, it is showing weakening. All right.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. And I'm just real quick, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. There's not a whole lot of roads around, but I'm just going to show which areas, if we do have that tornado on the ground, where it'd be. Right now it would just be really very close to State Route 99, just to the east of that. It'd also be approaching State Route 395. So, and that's just north of I-10, north of Welsh as well. So that's the area we're talking about, if there is anything, where it would be. But you raised a good point. It does appear that maybe we do have some signs of weakening.
Right.
Let's hope that continues. But again, it's too early to assume anything. If you're still in the path of this, if you're still in the warning, you need to be taking cover.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, it's the last couple of scans, radar scans, have shown weakening in the mid-level circulation, which is where the rotation is. All right. I don't want to assume it hasn't made contact with the ground, but indications from the National Weather Service is that it hasn't. It's now 5 miles north of Welsh. All right, if you want to close in on Welsh, okay, there's it's really not too far from being out of Jeff Davis Parish. In fact, let me get all right, Welsh. I just had it on the screen. Okay, and it's moving northeast. So still, it's about 10 miles from the county line or county parish line at this point in time. Let me clear this off here and get rid of some of the minutia that we have. Once again, this tornado warning, radar indicated, warned area. It's in Jeff Davis Parish, moving northeast at 35 miles an hour. It's 5 miles north of Welsh at this point. Rotation at about 3,500 feet. Okay, so it's not far from, I don't want to assume we don't have, our viewing area, it's spotty that direction. That far, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, and while we're here, Jeff, again, this is just a good reminder, we still do have plenty of rain activity off to the northwest of where we have that tornado warned storm. And it's just a good reminder that even though a lot of that activity in western portions of Calcasieu to Beauregard to Allen, even though that may not be severe right now, it's still producing plenty of rainfall and creating hazardous conditions on the road. Again, just keep it safe on the roads. Use extra caution if you have to be out right now.
Yeah, in addition to the the tornadic storm, oddly enough, we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings in the area, but that doesn't mean they're not strong. There's a certain threshold criteria that needs to be met. These are, they're very impactful. They're just not labeled as severe. But we do have the tornado warning still in place till 8:30 for Jeff Davis Parish. It's mainly central and eastern, northeastern Jeff Davis Parish, being that the storm's moving 35 miles an hour to the northeast. So we get a general idea of the direction as it makes its way Okay, I want to go through the communities again. You want to, put the cone to it. Let's track out some of the communities again.
Yep.
I know we've went through this, but still, want to make sure we don't miss anybody.
Yeah, so here's what we're looking at again. Moving off to the northeast around 40 miles an hour, around 8:25, about 7 minutes from now, be approaching the Raymond community. 8:29, China, again, if you're at, and right now, again, I think, especially for the China community, you guys need to be taking cover too. Raymond, it may just push off to your west, but again, still way too close to call. You guys should be getting into your safe space as well. After that, it continues off to the northeast. Eventually, it'll be around the vicinity of Elton and Basile as well. I know Basile is just over the border outside of our area, but again, maybe you guys have family, friends that live there. You should be telling these guys to still pay attention to this. It could be heading their way.
On the upside, it's still in the polygon area. Once again, I don't want to using weather terminology, but how else do you describe it? A geometry term, actually. The red lines that you're seeing, that's how the National Weather Service defines, geographically speaking, the areas that are included in the warning. And you see Welsh on the bottom there along I-10. Here, I'm just going to... That, it's actually now to the east of Welsh. Now, the upside that I was referencing is the fact that it is north of I-10 now, as opposed to being right, in the vicinity of I-10 where there's so much traffic. I'm looking for, any positive I can spin on here, which is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and while we're here, I'm just going to take, again, another look at the velocity to see whether or not we can determine if there's really strong rotation or not. I'll zoom into the area where we would expect some rotation. I'll draw a circle around that. Likely this area just off to the southwest of the Hathaway community. That's where we would likely have any rotation. Again, we can clearly see there still is a little bit of a hook-like feature to this thunderstorm as we can have here. Again, that's another characteristic of a storm that could produce a tornado. So now I'm going to change it to velocity. Let's see what we have. There is a bit of a...
Yeah, I would say you're right on it, Max, here. We're sharing here. I don't want to, we're doing this together, brother. This is the rotation right here. Okay, I'm pretty certain of that. Mind if I share some data quick?
Sure.
Okay, here's what we got. This literally is fresh as well as of 8:20. All right, the tornado warning remains in effect until 8:30 for northeastern Jefferson Davis Parish. Northeastern Jefferson Davis Parish. You touched on it a second ago. We don't want to just assume just because it's moving out of Jeff Davis Parish that it's not something that we want to address, because if people have friends, family, maybe driving that area. But that is the direction. It's not far from crossing out of our technically our viewing area. But at 8:19, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Pine Island. All right, 7 miles northeast of Welsh. So that's northeast of I-10, as I mentioned. So that's a positive. Okay, once again, moving about 35 miles an hour. It's moving at a pretty fair clip here. Radar indicated rotation, and last check is mid-level, which makes for an interesting view in the sky. Unfortunately, not making contact with the ground. Hopefully, we can't assume that, but that's data from the National Weather Service, that it was mid-level rotation at 3,500 feet. Once again, 7 miles northeast of Welsh. Moving northeast as well at 35 miles an hour. This dangerous storm will be near Elton around 8:40. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take
tracking here.
Yeah, so Jeff, I'm just going to take another zoom out. I know we had some stuff further off to the south coming off the Gulf. Just another look at that. Right now, it doesn't seem like anything too organized. This has been really the way we've gotten the past couple tornadoes, tornado warnings, just with all of this activity coming off the Gulf of Mexico. These cells have been relatively staying apart from each other, allowing them to get organized. But right now, though, at least there's not a whole lot of a sign that they have a tornado with them. I'll take another look at the velocity for some of those storms coming up into Cameron Parish. Again, very messy, maybe just to the
Here's
north.
Welsh. Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, maybe just to the northeast of Grand Lake. There's a bit of something with those reds and greens coming
Here's the
together.
radar site right here, so you see the proximity that we talked about, how close it is. It is further now, so we're getting a little better definition. In fact, I can see right here towards Welsh where the rotation is. Okay, anyway, continue.
Yes, but yeah, thank you, Jeff. But the bottom line is, right now, at least with these storms coming up into northern Cameron and Calcasieu parishes, right now it doesn't seem that they're producing anything tornadic. Of course, we'll keep an eye on that as well. So let's go back to where we do have our tornado warning storm over in Jeff Davis Parish. And I'm just going to zoom in really close here, again, to see what exact roadways we have here.
Yeah, good idea. That's a good reference point. Highway 102, yeah.
Yep. We can see again, it's splitting between Raymond off to the east and Pine Island to the west. Again, though, if you live anywhere really in the vicinity of these two towns, still, I think at least for the next couple of minutes, you want to stay in your safe place. The good news is, though, if we take a look off to the southwest, if you're in Welsh and Jennings, you guys, you're in the clear. You can come out of your safe space if you were in them. Now let's go back to where we're still having this approach to these communities.
We definitely zoomed in. It's just, we want to really kind of hyper-focus on the folks that are along the path, or potential path at least. All right, with Hathaway mentioned, okay, China, and Elton is towards the top of the screen here. That was projected in line around 840. So, somebody lives in Elton in the vicinity. That's another reference point as well. Now I'd like to assume this is going to be it, but there's a tornado watch in place that it includes Jeff Davis Parish. That's the only one of our parishes that's included in this tornado watch until 1 this afternoon. That's just one point of reference for us. When the initial warning came down, it's been in the last hour or so. It was included in Cameron Parish, which was not in the watch area, so that it's not exclusive. It's just another reference point for us to help keep everybody weather aware and really about keeping you safe. Okay, 8:30. We're closing in on that right now, and I'll let you further track it here. So actually look at the signature here, see if we can spot. There's a lot of noise, but that looks to be it, yeah.
Yeah, right there. If we do have a tornado, that looks like we do still have a bit of a couplet here. Again, those reds and greens, those are coming together. That's where we'd have a circulation. Still a bit tough to determine whether or not this is touching the ground. For that, we're going to take another look at if we can see any debris.
Yeah.
And, well, actually, there does look to be perhaps some lighter of those shades of green and yellow there. I would not be surprised to see, we'll take a bit of a zoom there.
That's exactly what I was looking at as well. Here, pardon the interruption, but yeah, it's just we've been going at this for quite a bit, so it's taxing a little bit here, but yeah, that just here. Well, all right, since I took over, yeah, right here. Right, sorry about that. That's was that the one you were referencing?
Yeah, it's just those little, and even those yellows and greens just above that, just south of China. That's where I think we would have any debris from a tornado. So again, we could very well still have a tornado on the ground here. Can't for sure tell it, but if you guys are in that polygon ahead of the storm, you need to be getting into your safe place.
Okay, now this dangerous storm projected, at least potentially, if it holds together near Elton around 8:40, that's still 10-15 minutes off. Other locations impacted by this tornadic thunderstorm. Okay, we mentioned Hathaway already. It's it's still pretty close to Hathaway. I was going to say beyond that. I don't want to assume that at this point. Okay, that is one of the reference points, and there are certain things you want to reference locations and things that people will recognize more. I'm trying not to get too obscure with some of the spots. that are, may be impacted. Now, we're getting close to the 8:30 point here, and I haven't seen any updated yet.
Actually,
see
yes,
something?
they do. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to just show the radar again with the warnings. Again, we can still see, again, the little hook echo here. Our couplet would be where it says the 395, State Route 395. But the good news is, again, it's not very strong. And indications right now may be that after it moves out of our area, maybe this warning doesn't get extended. But until then, we'll just keep on going at it. And we'll just keep on going at it and warning you guys anyways. So.
Yeah, the flash flood warning includes parts of Jeff Davis Parish. That's one of our other concerns. We've had this slow-moving storm. I mean, it's at various points been fast, slow, fast, slow. It's been somewhat stationary. Training is the terminology, and in other words, when it's over at one spot, that's when it can dump an awful lot of rain in a relatively short period of time. It's not moving at all, and that's been our problem with these storms too. That's why we've been dealing. That's why the tornado watch was extended. And initially, it was 10 o'clock last night. Issued at 4, then went till 10, then went till 4 a.m. Then beyond, they reissued it to 1 o'clock this afternoon for just as far as our viewers, Jeff Davis Parish.
Yes, and that is right. Let me first just get a sip of water.
Yeah, we're a little short of vocal cords at this point too.
But yeah, we can see here, still have a little bit of a couplet just to the east of the China vicinity, again, where these, and I'm just going to draw them out for you, again, where these reds and these greens kind of meet. Still do have a little bit of rotation right there, but the good news is it's just not that strong. But again, it's just something that is there. I'm going to take a little bit of a zoom out, and I'm just going to, again, change it back to a regular radar. And let's just play it again. We can still see it's on a northeasterly path. Not too long from now, it'll be approaching the Jeff Davis border here. And we'll just stick with this for a few more minutes.
It looks like it expired. They expired the warning. Double check my work here. Okay. It looks like they expired the tornado warning.
Yes, I'll check on that.
Okay. The National Weather Service hasn't indicated, but it's dropped off the screen. Okay.
Yes, it does look like.
Yeah, it's just we don't want to make I want to double, triple check here just because, like I said, weather aware, keep you safe. All right, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. All right, so with that said, flash flood warning for Jeff Davis Parish. All right, the storms. We still have that tornado watch in place through 1 o'clock this afternoon. Let's send it back to regular programming, please.